Welcome to WLC Radio, a subsidiary of World's Last Chance Ministries, an online ministry dedicated to learning how to live in constant readiness for the Saviour's return. For 2,000 years, believers of every generation have longed to be the last generation. Contrary to popular belief, though, Christ did not give believers signs of the times to watch for. Instead, he repeatedly warned that his coming would take even the faithful by surprise. Yahushua urgently warned believers to be ready because, he said, "The Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." WLC Radio, teaching minds and preparing hearts for Christ's sudden return.
Martin Luther King Jr. was an American minister famous for his social activism. He won the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize for how he fought racial inequality with non-violent resistance. If anyone understood acting on faith to do the right thing, he did. He once wrote, quote, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." Author, poet, and educator Patrick Overton, in a statement remarkably similar to one by Irish-Canadian novelist O.R. Melling, puts it another way. He says, quote, "When you come to the edge of all the light you have and must take a step into the darkness of the unknown, believe that one of two things will happen. Either there will be something solid to stand on, or you'll be taught how to fly." Hello, my name is Miles Roby and you're listening to World's Last Chance Radio, where we cover a variety of topics related to scripture, prophecy, biblical beliefs, practical piety, and constant readiness for Yahushua's return, whenever that may be. I don't know who came up with the first quote, Overton or Melling, but I wanted to mention both of their names because their statements are so similar. One clearly drew inspiration from, if not outright plagiarized the other. But it's a good quote illustrating faith. It's knowing that Yahuwah will provide us with ground to stand on, or he'll give us wings to fly. Today, Dave Wright is going to be sharing with us what it means to live by faith and not by sight. Now, Dave, faith is vital to the Christian walk. We all know this. But what does it mean to live by faith and not by sight? On a practical level, then, that's what we're speaking about. On a practical level, what does this look like?
Well, interesting question, and good to be here again today. And hello to all our listeners, of course. As I said, a really good question. So let's start with the Bible passage where we find this phrase itself. So let's go into 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And from there, can you just read verse 7 for us, please? That's 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7.
Sure, it's on my screen right now, and it says, "For we live by faith, not by sight." Kind of a short verse, but it says what it says. Not much there, though, is there?
Well, exactly right. So let's look at this in context. Now, chapter 5 is just a continuation of Paul's teaching in chapter 4. Chapter 4 starts out with Paul saying, "Therefore, since through Yah's mercy we have this ministry, we do not lose heart." Why don't we lose heart? Because we have faith. Can you read verses 6 and 7 of chapter 4?
Sure, absolutely. "For Yahuwah, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of Yahuwah's glory displayed in the face of Christ. But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from Yahuwah and not from us."
The treasure we hold inside is the light that comes from knowledge of Yah. This produces faith in us. Romans chapter 12 verse 3 tells us that Yahuwah has gifted everyone a portion of faith. Faith is what strengthens us to face life's trials. And what do verses 8 and 9 say?
"We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed."
It is because of faith that we can be hard-pressed on every side but not crushed. In life, there will certainly be many times we're perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. That's what faith does for us. It strengthens us to endure. Now drop down there to verse 16.
Okay.
Therefore, consequently, as a result, because of this reason, what?
We do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal.
This is the main point of Paul's passage here, the future that awaits the faithful. Eternity lived in the joy of Yahuwah's kingdom is worth any amount of struggle in this life. Paul is longing for that promised future, and it is the prize that awaits that keeps him focused. He doesn't allow the problems of daily living to distract him. He stays focused, and that's what lets him continue preaching in the face of the intense persecution that he faced. He knows that, even if he loses his temporal life, if he stays faithful, he'll still gain eternal life. Paul is inviting all believers to embrace this same mindset. He tells us we can have confidence in Yah's promises. This is what lets us focus on the future rather than the current trials. Let's keep going. Start reading with verse 1 of 2 Corinthians chapter 5. Now Paul's going to use a metaphor here, likening our current physical bodies to an earthly tent.
For we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from Yah, an eternal house in heaven, but not built by human hands. Meanwhile, we groan, longing to be clothed instead with our heavenly dwelling, because when we are clothed, we will not be found naked. For while we are in this tent, we groan and are burdened, because we do not wish to be unclothed, but to be clothed instead with our heavenly dwelling, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. Now the one who has fashioned us for this very purpose is Yahuwah, who has given us the Spirit as a deposit, guaranteeing what is to come. Therefore, we are always confident and know that as long as we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord. For we live by faith, not by sight.
Verse 7, short as it is the summation of everything Paul said before. We live by faith, not by sight. It's contrasting what we are to do with what we are not to do. We are to live by faith. That's what we're to do. We are not to live by sight.
Faith in Christ?
Faith in Yahuwah and what he's done for us through the life and death of Yahushua. Now, we've said it before, but it bears repeating. Faith is not a feeling. Faith is what you exercise when you are not feeling it. When you're afraid, when you lack confidence, that's when you exercise faith. Now, grab your dictionary behind you on the shelf there for us, can you? And I'd like you to read the definition of faith for us. I've actually noticed you're leaving it here all the time now, this dictionary of yours, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I should just memorize the definition of faith, shouldn't I, really? And then I could just rattle it off when you need it. But let's see. Faith. Belief. The assent of the mind to the truth of what is declared by another, resting on his authority and veracity without other evidence. The judgment that what other states or testifies is the truth. Faith is the assent of the mind to the truth of a proposition advanced by another. Belief on probably evidence of any kind.
Basically, faith boils down to a choice. We like to feel brave. We like to feel confident. But sometimes, even oftentimes, circumstances leave us feeling afraid and lacking confidence. It's at those times that we exercise faith. We choose to believe that what Yahuwah has stated is true because of who he is as a being. He's reliable. He's trustworthy.
He's all-powerful.
Yes, well, that helps as well. When you're in need, knowing that he's the creator and has all power lets you have faith. Your mind can agree that the promise is true, based on the character and might and power of the promise giver. That, and he's infinitely loving as well. And we find this concept in Hebrews chapter 11. Just remind us of what verse 1 says.
Just give me a second. It says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen."
The marginal reference for substance there is basis. Faith is the basis or foundation of things hoped for. But the author of Hebrews doesn't stop there. He takes one step further. He says faith is the evidence, the proof of things not yet seen. Now, that's quite a statement. The fact that we have faith at all, because remember, Yah has given to everyone a portion of faith, the fact that we have any faith at all is proof of things not yet seen. We are to cling to the faith and hope that we have in Yahuwah. The future might look dark. The present may very well feel overwhelming and discouraging and actually confusing. But instead of looking at what's surrounding us, we're to focus on what is unseen. This is exercising faith. Faith was something Yahushua wanted his listeners to understand. He'd say things like, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move over there, and it will.
Yeah, actually, I tried that when I was a child. We were visiting Ben Lomond up in Scotland one summer holiday, and I thought it would be a really good idea to see if I had the faith of a mustard seed.
Oh, did you know?
Yeah, well, my father wanted to hike up it, and I didn't want to, obviously, because it was so big. So I decided if I just moved the mountain, I wouldn't have to. So that morning, after breakfast, I can see you chuckling, I stepped outside, drummed up my faith, pointed at Ben Lomond, and I told him, go away! Yeah.
And?
Well, since it didn't move, I decided maybe I needed to word it the same way it's said in Scripture. So, drumming up my faith once more, I pointed at the far horizon and commanded it, move over there.
Oh, and?
Let's just say they didn't need to redraw any maps on my account.
Well, maybe the accident has something to do with it. I don't know.
Maybe so.
But I can imagine you trying that, actually. Obviously, what little Miles didn't understand was that Christ was speaking metaphorically. When we're facing a mountain of difficulties, we can, by faith, claim a promise and see a way open before us. We get an excellent definition of faith in the story of the centurion. Now, let's read that. Could you remind us of it, please, Miles? It's Matthew chapter 8, and it's verses 5 to 10.
Now when Yahushua had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him, saying, Lord, my servant is lying at home paralyzed, dreadfully tormented. And Yahushua said to him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. For I also am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this one, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my servant, Do this, and he does it. When Yahushua heard it, he marveled and said to those who followed, Assuredly, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel.
If we'd been privileged to witness this exchange, what we would have heard is the centurion saying, No need to come to my house. You have authority. I recognize your authority because I have authority too. All you need to do is say the word and my servant shall be healed. And the very next thing we would have heard is Yahushua saying, That is faith. And I haven't found faith like this even among the Israelites. This is the kind of faith that we're to exercise in our daily lives. We're to make it a habit to believe Yah's word in all things. And we do this by focusing on what is unseen. This is how we live by faith. To clarify his point, Paul provides a contrast. He says, we live by faith and
not by sight.
Not by sight, that's correct. It's all about where we choose to focus. Paul is telling us that we're to focus our attention, we're to focus our faith on realities not seen, rather than on the world, the circumstances surrounding us. The focus and center of our lives is to be on realities not seen. Living by sight centers our lives, our attention, focuses our energy on the world around us. This is what we're not to do.
I know, but it's so hard, you know?
It is, absolutely. And of course, technology makes it even more challenging. Did you know that people's attention spans are literally becoming shorter? There's such a constant glut of information, and it's all so readily available. We're constantly being bombarded with a veritable flood of information. Technology brings the wealth of libraries and newspapers and cinema, best-selling novels, and so on and so forth, right to our phones, which aren't plugged into the wall anymore. We carry them around wherever we go. And this creates a very busy, very unquiet state of mind, making it hard to hear the still, small voice.
Not to mention all the distractions of modern life. Social media is a huge distraction for a lot of people. I mean, I know my own mental health improved when I actually just got off the whole thing. And like you said, we don't have to wait to read the news in the evening paper. The latest news is constantly available on our phones that we just take with us everywhere. It's really hard to not focus on the world around us.
It's very easy to live by sight. The devil has made sure of it. It takes conscious effort on our part to choose to extend our focus beyond what's right in front of us. If you take the train to work, you can use that time to memorize passages of Scripture rather than scrolling through the latest headlines or social media postings. If perhaps you enjoy jogging or perhaps you do manual labor, instead of listening to the latest music hits or even talk radio in your earbuds, listen to a sermon instead. These are all choices that we can make to extend our focus to the realities of the unseen rather than the physical world around us.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah, it really is, because we're also contending with our fallen nature, and our fallen nature likes the easy way. We like to escape the stresses of modern living by disappearing into a movie, a novel, or a computer game.
So just how are we to keep our focus on heavenly things rather than on the world around us? Any practical pointers that we can use, Dave?
Paul gives us some actually in his letter to the Philippians. Our modern world may have distractions previous generations didn't have, but the draw to focus on the seen rather than the unseen world has always been a temptation. Let's actually see what Paul advised. Let's go to Philippians chapter 4, and from there, can you read verse 8? Now, I tell you what, actually, let's read this in context. So could you start in Philippians chapter 4, start with verse 6, please?
6, okay, no problem. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to Yah, and the peace of Yahuwah, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Yahushua. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Well, I mean, that eliminates most things in modern media, doesn't it, really, reading through that?
Pretty much, yes. But if we will do this, we will find it much easier to focus on unseen realities. In fact, I'd like to issue a challenge to our listener today. Go on a fast. Now, I don't mean a physical fast. Not all fasts are physical, but go on a spiritual fast. Go on a social media fast. Whatever is consuming your thoughts and attention, go on a spiritual fast where you eliminate that from your life. Maybe it's computer games, maybe it's novels or movies, or I don't know, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, whatever they're calling it nowadays.
X, Z, I don't know. It really does. It could be sports though, Dave, couldn't it? Or it could be YouTube videos, celebrity gossip, that kind of thing.
Whatever it is that's capturing the attention and keeps our focus away from spiritual realities. Just try cutting that out of your life for just 1 week and using that time instead to focus on spiritual realities. I can guarantee you that you will see a tremendous shift in your ability to focus on eternal realities. And chances are you'll come to the end of that week and decide that you want to keep going with it.
They say it takes, 21 days, I think, or 3 weeks to form a new habit.
I think 3 weeks might sound a bit too much to start with, but if you can try it for just 1 week, my guess is that the impact you'll see on your spiritual life when you fill the time left with spiritual things will be so great that you won't even want to go back to the way that you lived your life before. What did Philippians chapter 4 verse 7 say would happen if we do this? And the what?
And the peace of Yahuwah, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Yahushua.
We can't do this in our own strength. We've got fallen natures. The higher desires are constantly at war with the man of sin. And this is why Paul in Romans chapter 7 said, "The good I want to do, I don't do, but the evil I don't want to do is what I keep on doing." But if we will choose to focus on what's true, pure, holy, and of good report, then the peace of Yah will help us by guarding our hearts and minds.
What a promise. Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
It has been estimated that there are about 40 different calendars in use in the world today. For countries that have trade agreements with the United States, the solar Gregorian calendar, named for Pope Gregory XIII, is always used for these international agreements. The Gregorian calendar has become so commonly used in the West that many people assume its continuously cycling week of 7 days represents the 7-day week established at creation. Nothing could be further from the truth. The Gregorian papal calendar is an adaptation of the pagan Julian calendar. In fact, no days of the week were lost when the calendar transitioned from Julian to Gregorian, but this doesn't prove that Saturday is the Sabbath or that Sunday is the day of Christ's resurrection. The Julian calendar in the time of Christ actually had an 8-day week. The Jews certainly weren't using the calendar of their Roman oppressors. They were still using the calendar established by Yahuwah at creation. This luni-solar calendar is very different from the solar calendar used around the world today. If honouring Yah by worshipping on His true Sabbath is important to you, you need to know these facts of history. On worldslastchance.com, look for the article entitled 8 Days a Week, Julian Calendar History. The facts will both fascinate and shock you. Look for 8 Days a Week, Julian Calendar History. This is information every believer should know. Read it today.
So we've talked about what it means to live by faith and not by sight. We're to expand our focus to things seen by faith rather than getting distracted by the circumstances and struggles of our earthly lives.
Yes, this isn't to discount those struggles. They're very real and they do matter. Yahuwah cares about our daily lives, the things that matter to us, whether it's work or school or children or parents, interpersonal relationships. All of these are important, and as our loving Father, Yahuwah cares about this aspect of our lives. So we don't need to dismiss our struggles, they're very real. But the point is that we mustn't let our faith be dictated by our circumstances.
What do you mean by that, Dave?
We don't want to have weak faith when life is hard and strong faith only when life is good. It's when life is hard that we need to exercise faith. Look, we're living in a world of sin. We're going to face various struggles and troubles, but those don't need to hold our attention. We have the privilege of living by faith rather than the appearance of our circumstances.
So let's bring it down to a practical level then, as I was speaking about before. How do we do this in our daily lives?
Well, the first thing to do is to be careful that we don't fixate on the things that we can see, the politics that worry us, the expensive bills that scare us. The word fixate literally means to focus one's eyes or attention upon, whatever it is that's consuming our attention and drawing it away from Yah.
I mean, to be fair, it's really easy to focus on what's going on around us. We figure if we set aside Sabbaths for spiritual things, we're doing pretty good.
Well, yes, of course. But if our habitual patterns of thought are to focus on temporal matters the other 6 days, then when life takes a turn for the worse, and it happens to all of us, Life has its ups, but certainly has plenty of downs. When that happens, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. Where's your anchor? Where's your support?
Yeah.
But as believers, we're privileged to be able to take a different approach to life. Instead of focusing solely on current events, on our daily struggles, we have the privilege of looking beyond to eternal realities.
So how do we do that then? How do we keep our focus on eternal realities?
Well, first, we have to make it a priority to spend time with Yah in His Word. If I'm not spending time with Yah, getting to know Him, studying the Bible, meditating on what I've learned, then I'm not going to be able to keep my focus there. That's a choice we all can make. Are we going to stay up late reading, watching the TV, playing games on our phone or the computer so that we're too tired the next morning to get up in time for private Bible study? We can choose where to focus, and our focus is what we choose to think about during our free time. Now, by free time, I mean obviously at work or in school we have to pay attention to what we're doing, and that's going to engage our mind, and it should. But what do you like to think about on your downtime? Where do you choose to focus then?
I like how you say it's a choice. I can really see that. And we may have fallen natures, but it's still within our power how we choose to spend our free time, where we choose to place our focus.
And that brings me to my next point. Make the choice to keep your attention focused forward. The author of Hebrews likened this to a race. Let's read it. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 to 3.
Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Yahushua, pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of Yah. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart.
This teaches us an important lesson. Christ endured the cross by keeping his eyes on the prize set before him. And as he is our example in all things, that's what we're to do too. Take an Olympic athlete. In 2016, Wade van Niekerk, a South African sprinter, set a new world record for the 400-meter dash that, to date, has still never been broken.
What was that time?
43.03 seconds.
Wow, that's fast.
Just to give you an idea of how incredibly fast that is, the second fastest 400-meter dash of all time was set by American Michael Johnson in 1999, and his time was 43.18 seconds. So in the world of racing, that's quite a margin. Now, when these men run, are they looking behind them?
No.
They're looking ahead, aren't they? If they look behind them, they might veer into another runner's lane or even trip or fall. Instead, they keep looking ahead. And that's what we're to do too. We're to keep our eyes on the prize of eternal life in Yah's kingdom. By keeping our eyes on the prize, we'll be strengthened and able to endure the difficulties between now and then. And of course, this isn't easy.
No, nothing worth obtaining ever is.
Yahushua promised peace. He never promised ease. He promised to always be with us. He promised life more abundant, but he never promised an easy walk. And that's okay. If he's with us, that's enough. And we make it enough by reminding ourselves of the truth. We remind ourselves that though the wages of sin is death, the gift of Yah is eternal life through Yahushua our Saviour. We remind ourselves that if we lack wisdom, we can ask Yah who gives to all freely and upbraideth not. We bear in mind that Yahuwah is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in time of trouble. We remember Yah's promise that he will never leave us nor forsake us. This is how we shift our focus to eternal realities, how we keep our eyes on the prize by constantly keeping these truths in mind. I'd like to close with Malachi chapter 3 verse 16. This is a little-known verse that gives us an intriguing glimpse into how important it is to remind ourselves of the truth and speak on these things. Malachi chapter 3 verse 16.
Then those who feared Yahuwah spoke to one another, and Yahuwah listened and heard them. So a book of remembrance was written before him, for those who fear Yahuwah and who meditate on his name.
This is how precious our words of praise are to Yahuwah, and how important it is that we meditate on and speak of the truths that we know, because it settles us into the truth so that no matter what happens, our faith is strengthened, and we are enabled to live by faith and not by sight.
That's beautiful, really is. Speaking for myself, it's very strengthening to remember how Yahuwah has blessed me in the past. It gives me confidence for the future. Maintaining that attitude of gratitude keeps my focus on Yah. Coming up, why did Yahuwah punish David for something he incited him to do? Up next in our Daily Mailbag. Stay tuned.
You are listening to World's Last Chance Radio. The rapture. Precious promise? Terrifying threat? Well, that really depends on when you believe it will happen. Despite Christ's many warnings that his return would take even believers by surprise, the vast majority of Christians today look for a time of trouble or great tribulation to warn them when his return is near. Many believe they will be taken out of the world before that expected time of trouble in what is called a pre-tribulation rapture. A few Christians believe they will be taken out in a mid-tribulation rapture, while others believe they will be raptured at the end of a time of trouble. The Bible certainly teaches a rapture, but it doesn't teach anything as visible as a great tribulation as a warning sign that Christ's return is near. So, just when and under what circumstances will the rapture occur? Join Miles and Dave as they discuss this very topic in programme 248, called The Truth About the Rapture. Once you understand just when the rapture will occur, you'll never be afraid of being left behind again. Look for The Truth About the Rapture on worldslastchance.com. Once again, that's programme 248, The Truth About the Rapture. Previously aired programmes can also be listened to on YouTube. WLC Radio, teaching minds and preparing hearts for Christ's sudden return.
Today's question is coming from a country that has one of the world's lowest divorce rates.
Well, I'm going to guess it's not a Western country then.
You'd be right about that. It's also the country that boasts the world's tallest statue.
Oh, the tallest statue. Well, I'd say either the US with the Statue of Liberty, or maybe, no, actually Brazil with Christ the Redeemer statue. But then you said it's not a Western country.
Right. So the Statue of Liberty is 46 metres, or 151 feet tall. With the pedestal it's standing on, that bumps it up to 93 metres, or 305 feet. Christ the Redeemer in Brazil is 30 metres, or 98 feet tall. This other statue I'm talking about soars to a truly staggering 182 metres, or 600 feet in the air.
Wow. Gosh. So what's it of?
Well, it's called the Statue of Unity, and it honours a man named Sardar Patel. He was an independence leader in the western state of Gujarat in India.
That's incredible. I'd love to see that, actually.
Yeah, I've seen photos. It's truly amazing. All right. Pranev writes, "Greetings, brothers, in the name of Yahushua. My wife and I have been studying the life of David, and one thing that has been troubling us. Could you please explain why Yahuwah was so upset at David for numbering Israel? This is really confusing us because Scripture says that Yahuwah himself incited David to do this. So why was he then so angry at David for doing what himself had incited David to do?"
Well, I'm so glad to have a chance to actually answer this question. And the reason that I know the answer is that it used to bother me too. So I decided to study it out. Let's find out if Yahuwah really was the one that incited David to sin, because if he did, that's problematic, isn't it? Okay, let's start reading the passage that Pranev is talking about. So, Miles, could you go to 2 Samuel chapter 24 and read verses 1 and 2?
Again, the anger of Yahuwah burned against Israel, and he incited David against them, saying, "Go and take a census of Israel and Judah." So the king said to Joab and the army commanders with him, go throughout the tribes of Israel from Dan to Beersheba, and enroll the fighting men, so that I may know how many there are.
This does sound like Yahuwah influenced David to do what he later punished him for, which of course, if true, wouldn't be fair. But we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to find out just what's going on here. So let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 21, verses 1 and 2. And this, in fact, is a parallel account of what you've just read there in 2 Samuel.
Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel. So David said to Joab and the commanders of the troops, "Go and count the Israelites from Beersheba to Dan. Then report back to me, so that I may know how many there are."
So you see, this is a completely different perspective. Now, one way this has been explained is by saying that Yahuwah, with his foreknowledge, will allow Satan to act in ways which eventually result in the refinement of believers. For example, in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul says he was given a thorn in the flesh, a messenger from Satan to torment him. So that's one explanation. Yah allowed Satan to tempt David, thus revealing what was in David's heart.
So do you agree with that explanation then?
Well, no. That explanation works sometimes, but with regards to this message specifically, I think there's a different explanation, and in fact there needs to be. Paul's thorn in the flesh only affected him. David's sin ended up costing the lives of many Israelites, so I think we do need to look for another explanation. Let's read 2 Samuel chapter 24 verse 1 in some other versions. On your screen there, could you look it up and find some other versions, other translations for us, please?
Sure. Well, no. The first two I looked up both said the same thing. The anger of Yahuwah burned against Israel, and he incited David against them. So let's try. Just one second. Okay, here we go. This one says, "And again the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them."
Okay, good. Any others there saying anything different?
Yeah, this one's really different. It says, "Now again, the anger of Yahuwah burned against Israel, and it incited David against them."
Some translations seem to say then he, and while this one you just mentioned there says it. In other words, it was the anger of Yahuwah that incited David against Israel. And the reason that we've got these differences in translation is that in the original Hebrew, the verb incite has no subject. So in fact, it's left up to the reader to decide just who or what incited David.
That's very interesting, actually. But so what's the literal translation then?
Well, you could say, "There was who moved David against them," but that sounds awkward.
Yeah, it sounds really awkward, to be honest.
Or you could say, "For one moved David against them." Again, it's not clear. Some translators, as we've seen, assume it's Yahuwah or his anger, but that's just an assumption. It could have been David's own evil imagination. He was human after all. Or his fear of a more powerful foe.
It could have been Satan then, like in the parallel account of 1 Chronicles.
Sure, yes, 1 Chronicles says, "Satan rose up against Israel and incited David." The word Satan simply means adversary. Perhaps one of David's counselors gave him bad advice. The truth is, we simply don't know. However, knowing that the original Hebrew does not actually say it was Yahuwah, and that was an assumption on the part of the translators, then I'm inclined to think it was not actually Yahuwah.
So that removes the unfairness angle, doesn't it?
I don't believe the evidence supports that it was Yahuwah, because in the very next verses, Yahuwah is trying to dissuade David from pursuing that course of action by giving him some sound advice. Let's read verses 3 and 4 of 2 Samuel chapter 24.
But Joab replied to the king, "May Yahuwah your Elohim multiply the troops 100 times over, and may the eyes of my lord, the king, see it. But why does my lord, the king, want to do such a thing?" The king's word, however, overruled Joab and the army commanders. So they left the presence of the king to enroll the fighting men of Israel.
Sometimes Yahuwah speaks through humans, trying to influence a better course of action, and I believe that's what we're seeing here.
Just one second. I want to see what it says in 1 Chronicles then. And it says virtually the same thing. Yeah, it says, "But Joab replied, May Yahuwah multiply his troops 100 times over. My lord the king, are they not all my lord's subjects? Why does my Lord want to do this? Why should he bring guilt on Israel? The king's word, however, overruled Joab. So Joab left and went throughout Israel and then came back to Jerusalem.
This is even more clear. Joab is telling David that if he does this, it will bring guilt on Israel. And this is another reason why I believe the translations that supply Yahuwah as being the one to incite David are incorrect. Yah doesn't tempt.
That's a really good point, actually. James chapter 1, verse 13. When tempted, no one should say, Yahuwah is tempting me. For Yahuwah cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone.
Excellent verse. Yes, well done. I hadn't thought of that one, but you're absolutely right. So that brings us to the other part of the question, which is why Yahuwah was so angry at what David did. Was it a sin?
Well, yeah, because governments today conduct census studies all the time. Is that a sin?
The difference is that in Israel, you only had the right to count or number what belonged to you. Israel belonged to Yahuwah, not David.
Right.
A census was taken when you wanted to go to war, so you knew how many fighting men you had. David didn't need to go to war. Furthermore, it was a reason, an excuse for David to tax the people. Let's go to Exodus chapter 30, and from there, can you read verses 11 and 12?
Then Yahuwah said to Moses, when you take a census of the Israelites to count them, each one must pay Yahuwah a ransom for his life at the time he is counted. Then no plague will come on them when you number them.
It was Yahuwah's prerogative to demand a census. Now, from the accounts in 2 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, I don't know whether David required Israel to pay a ransom or not. My guess he probably did, but that's just a guess. Either way, it was wrong of David to do that, and that's why he felt guilty afterward. It's why General Joab remonstrated with him and warned him that it was wrong. Read verse 10 of 2 Samuel 24.
David was conscience-stricken after he had counted the fighting men, and he said to Yahuwah, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. Now, Yahuwah, I beg you, take away the guilt of your servant. I have done a very foolish thing.
This was before Yahuwah sent a prophet to David to rebuke him. David knew it was wrong to number Israel, but he'd done it anyway, which is why he felt so guilty afterward. Israel belonged to Yah, not to David, so it was extremely presumptuous of David to do that.
Okay, now that makes more sense. I've always wondered about that too, but thank you, Pranev, for a great question. Looking at the clock now, I think we've got time for just one more question. If you keep your answer brief, please, Dave.
All right, okay, I'll take the hint. Ask me a brief question.
Here's one. Cliff from Barrie in Ontario, Canada, has a question about our live broadcast. He says, I've been listening to your broadcasts on YouTube, but would like to see if I can listen on my shortwave radio. Where would I find broadcast times listed?
Okay, well, if you go to our homepage on worldslastchance.com and scroll down, you'll see a section that says WLC Shortwave Radio Broadcast. And in that section, you'll see some hyperlinks, and one of those says WLC Radio Schedule. Click on that and you'll see a schedule of times by language. Now, I should just add, at this time, we're not yet broadcasting in all languages. Some languages radio programs are still only available on our website and on YouTube. Currently, we're broadcasting in English, French, German, Spanish and Portuguese, but do keep checking back. Hopefully, we'll be able to get into other languages on air soon. Until then, though, you can still listen to them on YouTube and WLC. There we are. Was that brief enough?
It was actually short, just like shortwave. Good job. I just want to add one thing, though, and that is when you share with people about WLC radio, remember that a lot of people are bi or multilingual, or you might be interested in listening to it in one language, but someone else might be more comfortable if their native language is different. So, do check out that list of languages in which we have broadcasts available. On our website, near the top of the homepage, is the WLC radio icon. Just click on that to find a listing of the various languages that we actually broadcast in. You might prefer to listen to it in English, but a friend or relative may find it easier to listen in Arabic or Spanish or, Mandarin, Tagalog, whatever. I'm just saying that you've got a lot of options available right there. All right, up next is Jane Lamb with another beautiful promise from Scripture. Stay tuned.
The Los Angeles Times, the sixth largest newspaper by circulation in the United States, published an interesting article back in 2002. It was about what was, at the time, a growing trend. The article was entitled, "Home Churching Grows as an Option." While this may have seemed new and unusual at the time, in the 20-plus years since, home churching has become much more common as people take responsibility for their own spiritual education and see how the churches have rejected advancing light. Home churching, however, can be challenging at first. It certainly requires a level of involvement above just going and listening to someone else put on a prepared programme or preach a sermon. The benefits, however, are profound. Listen to the previously aired WLC programme called The Joys of Home Worship to learn how you can make home worship the highlight of your week. It doesn't have to be intimidating or overwhelming. Listen to the previously aired WLC programme called The Joys of Home Worship to learn how you can make home worship the highlight of your week. It doesn't have to be intimidating or overwhelming. Listen to The Joys of Home Worship on our website by going to worldslastchance.com, clicking on the WLC radio icon and scrolling down. You can also listen to it on YouTube. The Mark of the Beast. One of the scariest, most foreboding prophecies in Scripture. It's been speculated that the Mark of the Beast will be a national ID card, a barcode tattooed on the wrist or forehead, or a microchip installed under the skin. As technology has advanced, so too has the theories and speculations regarding this warning. The startling truth, though, is that this prophecy, contrary to popular opinion, is not describing an event to take place at the end of the world. Rather, this is linked to the destruction of Jerusalem almost 2,000 years ago. You don't need to fear the beast or the mark of the beast. Rather, our full attention should be focused on making a full surrender and living in constant vigilance, because Yahushua warned that his coming would take even believers by surprise. To learn more, visit worldslastchance.com. Look for the article called The Mark of the Beast Revealed. That's The Mark of the Beast Revealed. Read it today on worldslastchance.com. This is Jane Lamb with your daily promise from Yah's Word. In remembering a friend of his who had died, British rocker Rod Stewart described him as, quote, "the kindest guy I ever knew." To me, kindness is the most beautiful personality trait there is. I love Bible verses that describe Yahweh's kindness. Kindness draws the heart like nothing else. When Lisa Shirley Sheffield was only 19, she was working as a hairdresser. One day, a woman came into the salon. She was obviously exhausted and under immense pressure. When Lisa asked if she could help her, the woman explained that her sister was very sick and needed a haircut, but they'd been turned away from salon after salon because the woman was in a wheelchair. She was almost in tears as she explained that she'd already washed her sister's hair. They just needed help getting it cut. "I'll be happy to help you," Lisa assured the woman. The woman was so grateful, she thanked Lisa repeatedly as she went out to the car to get her sister. While she did that, Lisa went to her station and moved her hydraulic chair to one side so there would be plenty of room for the wheelchair. The woman could just stay sitting there and not have to get out. When the women returned, Lisa struggled to hide her shock. Never in her young life had she encountered anyone who was as clearly near death as the sister. Composing herself, she stepped forward with a smile. Remembering it later, she recalled, quote, "You would have thought I had given them $1 million simply because I moved the chair to make things easier on them." As Lisa styled the sister's hair, the three women chatted and laughed. It was an encounter Lisa has never forgotten. But it wasn't over yet. As the women were leaving, the woman who had first come in asked for Lisa's contact information. Lisa gave the woman her salon card, which had all her contact information on it. 2 weeks later, Lisa got a call from a local funeral home asking if she would come and style the hair of a woman who had passed away. Lisa was puzzled. She had never received such a request before, and she didn't recognise the name of the person who had passed away. "Are you sure you have the right person?" she asked. The funeral home assured her that they did, saying they had her business card and an envelope for her. Still puzzled, Lisa arranged a time to come over. When she arrived, she recognised the face of the deathly ill woman whose hair she had cut just 2 weeks before, after everyone else had turned her away. A bouquet of flowers was sitting beside an envelope, on which was written Lisa's name. After carefully styling the woman's hair, Lisa opened the envelope. Inside were $200 bills and a letter. The letter read, "Dear Lisa, we will probably never cross paths again here in this life, but I wanted you to know what your kindness meant to my sister and me. You see, we had been turned away that day and actually treated rudely by several salons. Watching someone die is hard enough, but feeling like no one cares when you are at your lowest is terrible. My sister had been a hairdresser for years, and one of her final wishes was that her hair be cut before she died. Not important to some, but she had begged to have it cut. Your kindness to us that day was something that touched my sister, and she said when we left, it's my request that this Lisa do my hair when I'm gone, and I know she will, because she's what kindness is." Lisa couldn't hold back the tears any longer. That something so simple had meant so much to someone else broke her heart. She tried to give the money back, but the funeral home refused to accept it, saying the woman had been adamant that Lisa receive it. What the woman couldn't have known, but Yahuwah did, is that Lisa's car was in desperate need of repair. The total cost of the repair? $200. Ecclesiastes 11 verse 1 tells us, "Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days." We have been given great and precious promises. Go and start claiming.
As we've recently learned at WLC, Christ's return won't have obvious warning signs. Yahushua repeatedly warned that his return would be unexpected and take even believers by surprise. So the second coming will occur when life appears as business as usual. And this is why it's so important that believers learn to live by faith and not by sight. One day Christ will return, But that morning when you wake up and get breakfast will be no different from every other day preceding it. And this is why it is essential that we remind ourselves of what is true. We keep our attention focus forward, and we focus on what we know and not what we see. Therefore, whether he comes tomorrow or after we die, we'll be ready to meet him in peace.
And obviously, for each of us, his return is as near as our last breath.
Absolutely right, yes.
Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed today's program and would like to share it with friends and family, you can find it on our website at worldslastchance.com or on YouTube. Look for program 250, Living by Faith and Not by Sight. That's Living by Faith and Not by Sight, program number 250. If you're listening on YouTube, let us know what you think in the comments. If you enjoy our programming, consider giving us a thumbs up to help others find our channel. Click on the alert button to receive notifications when new episodes are uploaded. We hope you can join us again tomorrow, and until then, remember, Yahuwah loves you, and he is safe to trust.
You have been listening to WLC Radio. World's Last Chance is an online community founded in 2004. We are dedicated to spreading the gospel of the kingdom of Yahuwah to the world. We are not affiliated with any denomination or religious organisation. The foundation for our beliefs is the Bible, and the Bible only. We believe in one God, and that is Yahuwah, our Father and Creator. He is the only being that has immortality, natural and underived, and He alone is God. We believe Yahushua is His only begotten Son. While Yahushua was perfect and lived a sinless life, He was also fully human. He had to be, in order to die for the sins of the world, because divinity cannot die. We believe the gospel is the good news of Yahuwah's kingdom that will be set up on earth when Yahushua returns. Contrary to popular opinion, it is not possible for anyone to know when the Saviour's return is near. Yahushua repeatedly warned that his return would be unexpected and like a thief in the night that would take even believers by surprise. Therefore, every believer should, by Yahuwah's grace, live in constant vigilance, ready for the Saviour's return, whenever that will be. This programme and past episodes of WLC Radio are available for downloading on our website. They're great for sharing with friends and for use in Bible studies. They're also an excellent resource for those worshipping Yahuwah alone at home. To listen to previously aired programmes, visit our website at worldslastchance.com. Click on the WLC Radio icon displayed on our homepage. In his teachings and parables, the Saviour gave no signs of the times to watch for. Instead, the thrust of his message was constant vigilance. Join us again tomorrow for another truth-filled message as we explore various topics focused on the Saviour's return and how to live in constant readiness to welcome him warmly when he comes. WLC Radio, teaching minds and preparing hearts for Christ's sudden return.